Hey guys, so today I wanted to read to you guys something that I wrote, and it's something I was planning on posting, and then it ended up being this really long thing that I wrote in a notebook. So I wanted to read it to you guys. It was originally going to be a post, and it's basically talking about my experience with my relationship with my parents growing up, and just some different situations that had always bothered me and upset me. And there are things that you wouldn't think of as being considered neglectful, but over time things like that become very neglectful, and it's just something that I feel like we should talk about more, because I'm sure there are many more people in many more different types of families that have the same types of feelings and thoughts, or maybe similar situations. And I think it's important to talk about them because, it's hurtful, but it happened, and, we have to accept that and kind of like move on from where we are, especially with our parents. It's like, okay, the biggest thing I had to learn was my parents are never going to change. They are who they are, and that's the way they're always going to be. And in a way that sucks, because there are certain things that I wish that we could work on and change and build a stronger relationship, but I know that that's probably not going to happen. So that is what this is about. By the time I started college, my parents spent most of their money and extra time going on small trips and vacations together for themselves throughout the year, sometimes spontaneously and without me even knowing, kept out of the loop. But my sister somehow always knew their plans because she was the golden child, so golden child syndrome. I remember, for example, calling and not knowing they went to Myrtle Beach one time for a few days, just spontaneously, like they just had the money to go on a trip to Myrtle Beach. Or when I called them with something important to say, a lot of times, somehow that was always when my mom was in the car with my dad and they were like leaving for a trip somewhere, a trip to the lake or some other thing that they planned. I, in the meantime, was in college at the time and broke with no money to train for a job that did not come close to bringing in enough money to make it worth the 5 years of my life and the $100,000 of debt that I had, all while my parents were enjoying themselves. They didn't get empty nest syndrome. They couldn't wait to get rid of me. One time, when I was 28 and I had to live with my parents for a couple of months after my divorce, my parents would always go out to eat on Thursday nights. I didn't get to go with them that night, and they left me by myself at the house. They did that a lot when I was a teenager too, leaving me alone at the house while they went out to eat. And that's how I spent a lot of nights as a teenager when I wasn't sleeping over at a friend's house. Another thing that has always bothered me was when my mom got the opportunity to meet real penguins and pet them. My mom's favorite animal is penguins. And all growing up, our house was full of penguin figurines, like singing penguins, dancing penguins, decorations with penguins, penguin paintings, penguin coasters, penguin shirts, pretty much anything with a penguin on it, my mom had. And at this point, I was about 26 years old and married. My mom called me one day to tell me the news, and she said she had one other plane ticket to take whoever she wanted with her on this trip to SeaWorld, and she was going to actually be able to like go behind the glass with like the people that work with the animals and like feed the penguins, pet the penguins, like waddle around with them back there, like that whole thing, which is really cool. It's like a backstage pass to SeaWorld. Anyway, she said she had another plane ticket, and she asked me, and I'm her youngest daughter, she asked me if I wanted to go, and I was unbelievably excited. It would have actually been the first time that I had ever flown on an airplane, because I'd never flown on a plane before. My mom and I had a good hour-long conversation over the phone about me getting to experience that and the excitement of flying on a plane for the first time. My mom told me about, the first time that she flew on a plane when she flew to Canada and how exciting that was for her. And I was just thinking, oh, finally, I'm going to get to do that too. And I was really, really glad that I was going to be able to share that moment with my mom. It was really important to me, actually. And I know it's something small, but to me, it meant the world, because when I was in high school, my best friend, who is from Bulgaria, her family, she visited in Bulgaria every summer. And I had the opportunity to go to Bulgaria when I was 13 or 14 over the summer, when my friend was visiting her dad for the summer. And I would have been able to, like, stay with them for the summer. And my mom did not allow me to. And that always, like, hurt, because, like, that was a once in a lifetime opportunity I was going to have. And my friend's mom said, like, hey, to my parents, this is, I make sure that they get there safely and everything's fine. And, we've done this a lot of times, and, this is a great opportunity for your daughter to see somewhere else in the world, and you really should. And the thing is, like, the only thing that needed to be paid for was my plane ticket. And I told my parents, I was like, I will do whatever chores or whatever work you need me to do, or that I can do to get the money for the plane ticket. So, I was basically saying, hey, if you paid the plane ticket, like, I will pay you back for the cost of the plane ticket. And I was 13, but it just wasn't allowed. So I was really excited about this opportunity. And so we hung up the phone, and she told me she would let me know details. I think the plan was to go on this trip in, like, the next couple weeks. And then all of a sudden, like, a week before I thought the trip was, I see on Facebook that my mom has posted a picture of herself and my dad with the penguins at SeaWorld. And she wrote this long emotional post about how meaningful the trip was to her, and getting to go with her husband. And I never got an explanation as to why she all of a sudden decided to just go with my dad and not me, because we had kind of made it clear that this was going to be a special trip for me and my mom to bond. And, I was 26, and I was really excited, because I was like, okay, well, I haven't really had one of these bonding experiences with one of my parents as an adult, and I think it'll be really good for us, because it'll be a chance for me to better get to know my mom. It'll be a chance for my mom to get to know me better, because they did not really socialize much with me or visit me when I was in college. So, there was a promise that was made there that wasn't kept, and it was confusing for me. Like, I didn't understand why. And the only reason I could really think of as to why was because my mom started her, like, penguin obsession the first year that my parents got married. And one of my mom's first penguin gifts was a little singing penguin. You press the button and he plays Deck the Halls with Boughs of Holly, blah, blah, blah. And that was back in, like, 1978. And she still has that penguin. And the only thing I could think of was that my dad was jealous, because maybe he felt like it was, like, a them thing, that she was obsessed with penguins, like it was their thing. But again, I mean, like, you're probably wondering, well, why didn't, like, you all just get an extra plane ticket so all three of you could go on the trip? That would seem like the logical thing. But with my parents, it was always, it's too expensive to also invite me to go with them somewhere, especially in regard to flying on a plane, because I had 3 opportunities, well, 4 if you include the Bulgaria thing, but I had 3 opportunities after that to fly on a plane, all of which would have been with my mom and dad, and that it was too expensive. Like, they didn't want to have to pay for my ticket as well, because they knew I probably did not have the money to pay for the ticket. So even if it was important to me and, like, I really wanted to go, they wouldn't just, it's not about the money. It was about the fact that, like, that mattered to them so much. The money mattered to them. It mattered that they had to spend money on me for going and having a bonding experience with them. And it's like, okay, but bonding with your family money should not be a factor in that. If you really want your family member there, come hell or high water, you're gonna get them there. Somebody's gonna buy a plane ticket to get Susie Q to, grandpa's house because they really want to go to this family reunion, or they really want to go do this thing, and somebody will pay for the ticket. We'll figure it out. Everybody's going to be there. We're going to be happy because it's family. That's what you do for your family. So in my opinion, it was kind of shitty, and it's always been shitty. I never understood why my mom got me so excited and got my hopes up about the plane when she just ditched me and went without me without giving me a reason. And that really hurt my feelings. I never got to see my nephew be born, by the way, for the same reason. I was a college student at the time, and my sister was living in Missouri at the time. My parents gladly and almost immediately hopped on a plane to Missouri without even calling me about the baby. They went to the hospital and they got to see my nephew born. When I asked why I couldn't have come with them, they said, "It's too expensive to take you with us." And my sister, who is the golden child, did not seem bothered that her sister, her younger sister and her only sister, was not there on the day that her nephew was born to share that important life experience. I didn't get to meet him until he was 3 years old, because my sister did not come home from Missouri until then. They did not move back to Virginia until 3 years later, and she literally did not actually fly or visit family at all in those 3 years. Despite that, my parents took several trips out to Missouri and flew over there on a plane. And not once was I invited by my sister or my parents to say, hey, when my nephew got baptized and things like that. No invitation was offered, just nothing, no extension of it. Even just the thought of the invitation would have sufficed as, okay, so they care. They're just kind of there was none of that, zero. And so, that obviously is very upsetting and hurt me a lot, because I feel like I was held back from getting to really be an aunt for my nephew when he was just a little infant. And I would have wanted to have held him and seen what he looked like the day he was born. Other than seeing a picture from my sister. And I never got to do that. And that did really upset me. She doesn't understand that. She doesn't know that. And I don't understand how she doesn't understand why that's such a big deal and an issue. Anyway, but then the other opportunity that I've had to fly on a plane. This is turned into a story of times when Anne-Marie has had the opportunity to fly on the plane, but never got to fly on a plane because nobody wanted her to go, because nobody wanted to either help pay for her ticket or figure out a way for her to be able to go on the plane. Fine, it's just never happened. So, and especially after 9/11, people were scared. I was scared as a child, but I said, you know what? One day I'm going to get on a plane and everything's going to be okay and I'm going to enjoy it. And I get over my fear of flying, because it's kind of a fear too. It's terrifying to me, but also exciting. I understand why, there are certain experiences that I didn't get to have, that my parents just, decided, no, you don't get to experience that. Your brother and sister did. Nah, you don't need to do this. So, my dad took a business trip when I was in high school. My dad got to go on a business trip to California, and this was back in the early 2000s, and it was for some training thing. I was a senior in high school at the time, and his boss had said, hey, I will pay for, his boss was always so accommodating and so nice. And he was like, oh, if any of your family members, want to come with you, I will pay for their everything paid for. And my parents knew that I have always wanted to go to California. They knew that. They knew that that was like one of the places I've always wanted to see. Despite that, they didn't invite me, went without me, and my mom did all these cool sightseeing things like seeing Rodeo Drive and Beverly Hills and stuff I had always wanted to see in person. She did those things, and she posted that all over Facebook and, just hyped it all up on Facebook for our friends and family like it was something so totally cool and like, that upset me. It rightfully upset me. So, I mean, the point is, I never asked my parents for things. I wasn't a spoiled child. We grew up in a middle class, but lower middle class, poor family. And when we were younger, it was all about putting food on the table and stuff like that. It was a pattern over time of the way that my parents treated me, of how they always put their own entertainment and joy over getting to know me better as a person in my teens and my 20s. They prioritized having fun without the burden of any kids at home over building a strong bond with me. And then they prioritized their wants and needs instead. I never really got much advice from my parents or genuine connection bonds or conversations. I was just expected to comply and not complain and be grateful. It's not that I wasn't grateful. It's that I realized my parents didn't actually care about me at all. And that's the sad thing about it. And this is part of it. It's narcissistic tendencies, the narcissistic parenting and the neglect. And they go hand in hand. So you might have also grown up with narcissistic parents and you understand the situation, but it is very hurtful. It really is. And if you've experienced this, you're not alone, and it is okay to be upset about it.